Shepard.
Here.
Commissioner Bell.
Here.
Commissioner Briscoe is here. We have some advisory meeting schedules I'll read. Marina Advisory Committee, the MAC, February 11th at 6 p.m. Port Administration Office, Harbor Center Commission Chambers, in person only. That would be here. Bellingham International Airport Advisory Committee, the BIAC, April 17th at 4 p.m. Join the Zoom meeting at 4 p.m. Or in person in the Aircraft Rescue Firefighting ARF Station, 2005 West Bakerview Road, Bellingham. So either in person or Zoom, whatever your flavor is. So we have two public comment periods, one at the beginning of the meeting and one at the end of the meeting. So with that, we'll open up for public comment. I don't have anything in front of me, so do we have anybody? No, anybody online? Nobody online? Anybody want to say anything? Ah, come on. Jeez. We could get Tamara to say a joke, I guess. All right, we're going to move on to our new hire introduction. Rob, would you like to do that?
Yeah, we have new executive assistant, and her name is Tracy Lewis. She comes to us from the city of Bellingham, where she was there for about 17 years. This is Tracy Lewis.
Tracy?
Hi.
Thanks for joining the crowd.
Glad to be here.
And then we have one other. Sam.
Hi.
There you.
Alex Hildreth, Director of Facilities. We've got a new electrician. I'd like to introduce Sam Gomes. He's recently graduated from Bellingham Technical College and has spent about a year as a journeyman. So he holds a license as a EL01 here in Washington State, and started last Monday and doing a great job so far. Please welcome Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Welcome aboard, Sam.
Come on, stand up.
Great place to work where you are. Good people.
Consent agenda. Commissioner Shepard, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank Dr. Weber for offering to serve on the committee.
Commissioner Shepard? Commissioner Bell? Nothing. And I have nothing. So,
Motion to approve items A through C on the consent agenda.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell?
Yes.
Briscoe's yes. Carries 3-0. We got action items.
First one up is a harbor land lease between the Port of Bellingham and Granite Construction. Tiffany and Elliot will lead that.
Hi, I'm Elliot Smith. I'm the Director of Real Estate here at the Port of Bellingham, and I'm joined by Tiffany DeSimone, our Maritime Director. We will both present parts of this lease, but the action requested will be a motion by the Commission to approve the harbor land lease between the Port of Bellingham and Granite Construction Company. I would also note we have James Essig here from Granite Construction. Because this is staff presentation to commissioners, he's here to answer any additional questions but won't be presenting today. And online, available to answer environmental questions from Granite will be Steve Hitzel, who has presented to this commission in the past. And I'd also like to give many thanks to Tiffany's team and to our environmental team and the commissioners in helping with due diligence over the past year for this contract. We have some slides here that I need to get up. Tiffany, yeah, so a brief background on Granite, and I would refer you back to their presentation to Commission about the background of their company back in December. but they've been operating in Whatcom County since 1911. They've got 25 to 30 employees here in the county. And the lease that we're presenting to you today to handle aggregates at the Bellingham Shipping Terminal would have about 13 full-time employees. And it's dependent on volume, but we believe that will create about 200 ILWU shifts per year, in addition to some linemen and a few other positions. So it will generate quite a bit of employment. I don't want to overstate that, but it is substantial. The type of use that will be happening here is the import and export of aggregate by barge to convey, store, and distribute aggregate materials.
Elliot, what does 200 shifts mean in terms of, can you give us a ballpark of people that means? It's hard to quantify what that means.
I am probably not the best person to define what a particular shift is. Matthew Kress, could you maybe step up and help define those shifts?
Matthew Kress, Business Development Manager. So each shift is an 8-hour shift. And so if there's 200, there would be 200 8-hour shifts. And we're estimating about 3 people employed per barge operation. And we're looking at 2 shifts per barge. So that's 2 8-hour shifts per man for 3 people. 3 times a month at full volume, which is 3 barges a month. So
Could you
that's
6 per
Could you
barge.
repeat that again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So each shift is an 8-hour shift for 1 man. And we've got 3 people per barge, and there's 2 shifts per barge. So that's 6 jobs per barge. So that's 3 barges a month is 18 jobs per month times 12 months. And it's about 200 shifts. And that doesn't include the tie-up and the let-go of barges, which is also their jurisdiction. So there's 2 men tying it up and 2 men letting it go. And it doesn't have to be men, for the record. There can be women. But that's just how it's referred to. Hopefully it answers your question. And it's an 8-hour minimum, so if they finish early, they still get paid for the full shift.
Thank you, Matthew. So the site layout, we can delve into this more when we get to operations and questions. But the barges would come up to berth 1, disload their cargo. It will go through a covered conveyor belt through warehouse 1, and that's been determined to help make sure that we've got dust and noise contained, and the best way to do that was to go through the warehouse. That also means we're well inside of the stormwater catchments that are just to the east along this edge. That covered conveyor, much like the ones that we visited on Granite's other sites, will then lead over into their lease area, where material will be stacked and distributed as their vehicles come in. And they will exit through the any vehicles coming in to collect those products, which are already washed when they arrive, will exit through the normal port BST gates. The lease terms are, of course, very important and something we've talked about over recent months. The proposed lease is a 5-year lease. It is possible for the port to choose to extend that entirely at our option. That is an absolute option. So while in the lease documentation yourself, you'll see mention of some possible future terms, that is entirely up to the commissioners as to their willingness, and frankly, based on how well this operation runs. But this is a 5-year lease. The premises involved in the lease are 5 acres in the cargo support area, 4,650 square feet inside of Warehouse 1, and non-exclusive use of the shipping terminal as they move across that area. The commencement date, should the commission wish to support this lease, would be March 1st, 2025. And then the annual economic impact, which is, of course, a bit of an estimate as this company would build up their business, but we expect to be between $300,000 and $500,000 per year to the port. That's for wharfage, dockage, service, facilities, rent, everything all in. And at this point, unless you have specific questions about the lease document, I'll still be here, but I would like to hand over to Tiffany to talk a little bit about the kind of questions we've gotten from the community and some responses to those. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tiffany DeSimone, Director of Maritime. And so just as a reminder, you'll recall that we came forward, as Elliot mentioned, November 1st at a commission meeting and talked about this lease in the interest of giving folks enough time to give us feedback. In that presentation, we talked about the 4 visits that staff and individual commissioners did at the Everett and Everson locations. We talked about our new customer cargo review process. It's an internal process. So just a reminder of all those things. So what we've been doing since that November 1st meeting is what I'm calling social listening. So trying to take all the feedback that we got from several different mediums. So local media, our social media, other people's social media, letters to editors, and just tried to kind of combine all those questions. And I did forward a list of questions to each commissioner with some of those. But what I did for this presentation is sort of picked out ones that we heard repeatedly so that we can get them out front here and then offer any opportunity for you to ask clarifying questions. So I'm just going to read them so that it's clear. There was a bit of misinformation in some of the social listening that we did, so we want to address it here. So I will just read. Will rock be crushed on site? That's no. Aggregates will be arriving into the port in a finished form and ready for use. Will rock be washed, and where will the water go? So processing and washing of aggregate will take place at Granite's other loading facilities prior to the arrival here. We had a couple questions about the projects that are currently going on and if modernizing the current infrastructure was specifically for Granite. And that's a good question. The terminal modifications actually underway are not specifically for Granite's use. They're to support a multi-use shipping terminal. And the section of the terminal to be used in this particular lease is suitable in its current condition. So there is no construction in this location. And it can support the equipment they need for moving their cargo from barge to land. Any clarifying questions for the commission on that? If not, I'll go to the next. This is the last 3, which how many barges per week, which Matt just answered. There was some misinformation kind of floating about out in the community that it was more than it was, that it was 3 to 4 barges a week. What we said in that last presentation was 3 to 4 barges per month at this time, based on Granite's business model and demand. And those barges can be offloaded in approximately 12 hours. How many trucks would be used to load the aggregates? Given the above barge loads, it's estimated to be 30 trucks per day. This can vary depending on projects, depending on if it's a contractor's truck and trailer. So is it an F-150 and a dump trailer, or is it a count and gravel truck? Are there air or traffic congestion concerns to be considered? This barge activity will reduce overall truck vehicle emissions as these materials are currently being trucked into and around Whatcom County from other areas. Granite anticipates trucks will travel less overall miles, thus reducing overall greenhouse gas emissions. And then another question that we got was about truck routes. And so the next slide is the City of Bellingham's truck routes. And the terminal does lie along those. And so I will go forward to that and then open it up for any additional questions. That's it for me?
That's it?
Yeah, sorry.
I was waiting. Thought there was more coming.
Yeah.
Great presentation. Answered a lot of questions I had written down here. Yeah, 30 trucks off of I-5 to get a load of barge load up here is a big deal for our traffic issues we have here.
Commissioner, will you speak a little closer to your microphone, please?
Jeez. Somebody else used to tell me that. How's that?
Thank you.
That better? Great presentation, answered a lot of the questions I had written down. It's nice that we're going to remove some trucks from the highway and use our marine waterway routes. But I'm just, I think it's a good product. I think it's going to be great for the local people here to be able just to come down here and grab their stuff and time the matter instead of having to drive an hour south, an hour back to get it. So I think it's great overall. Commissioner Bell, questions?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to get the gravel guy up here,
James?
because I like messing with gravel guys. James, my question is pretty simple. Coming out of the garbage industry, I've replaced more than my share of windshields. So just wondering what you've got for cover control, and I know you pay for a lot of windshields yourself, I'm sure, but
Me personally, no, but I'm sure Granite Construction has in the past.
yeah. What's the protocol?
Well, it's a best practice for us to have the guys use their tarps, or make sure if they don't have a tarp, they're complying with the 6 inches of freeboard on the trailer. So the loader hand's aware of those rules, and we have signs at our asphalt plants and our aggregate sites asking the drivers to use their tarps. Not all trucks have tarps, so if we don't have a tarp, then make sure we don't overfill the boards. That's our best practice. We don't have 100% control of it overall all the time in terms of, I'm sure you've seen a lot of those tarps have seen better days on some older trucks, but we do encourage the use of them.
Yeah, and it's a pretty heavy material, so, what
Yeah.
about self-haul? You're gonna have a lot of self-haul. Will they be mandated to have covers?
Well, I'm gonna say this, I would think all of our trucks, haul trucks, Granite's haul trucks, especially the Super Solos that are new, have covers on them. Just because most of their hauling they're doing is hot mix asphalt out of Everson, and we're trying to keep as much air off that as possible to retain the heat. So Granite has probably a newer fleet than you may see some of these other companies have. So yeah. Our vehicles are equipped with the tarps.
And then currently, the stuff that you're replacing, where is it coming from? Other than Everett for the cement haul, where's the rest of it coming from?
Where's the rest of the aggregate in the market coming from?
Yeah, are you currently shipping into Vancouver and
No.
Seattle? And then bringing it up here?
No. You can't, there's not a lot of margin on aggregate. You can't ship it too far. It becomes cost prohibitive. I would say we're probably hauling into Skagit County some, and I would have to check, but I know we have sold some aggregate through Cowden up into Canada. But in terms of where it's coming from, I mean, the local sources, you got Belleville down on the Samish River that's operated by Miles. You got Cyper Sand and Gravel out on Highway 9. Which is operated by Miles. You have Granite on Everson Goshen, operated by Granite. Strider has a pit around. There's a few pits around in Whatcom County, mostly east of town, out Everson, Deming, whatnot. And one of the things is western Whatcom County, the deposits are pretty fine, so it's mostly sand. And so you have to get east to get into good aggregate. So we do have sources here, but as time goes on, the tougher and tougher it is to permit sites in Whatcom County.
Yeah, we need it, okay.
Commissioner Shepard.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. First question, I know we're redoing the shipping terminal, and on the front face, we're putting in a new water treatment facility or kind of technology there. Is that going to be up and running by the time we start seeing barge traffic? Or what's the timeline in between barge traffic starting and this new
Stormwater system?
stormwater system coming online?
That's a good question. We are currently in the midst of that project and working on it, as you know. I would have to find out the exact timing of when the stormwater treatment will be online. I know we are currently receiving parts of it and getting it ready to get installed as that project moves on. But I think you've seen updates on that sort of portion of the dock, and we're making good progress.
Okay, so it is coming in the quite near future that will coincide with new barge
Yes.
traffic coming in. There's not going to be any large gaps without our
I-
ability to treat stormwater.
I don't anticipate that, assuming the project stays on time.
Okay.
Anything else?
Could you also, we've got the truck route here. So the majority of this material is going to take this truck route probably along Roeder and then up Squalicum. Is that where we see most of it going, or what do we expect? Do we have an expectation on what route most of this will use?
On what direction? I think I'd have to defer to Granite.
I would say that's the primary haul route as well.
Okay. All right.
It's the most efficient haul route out of here to I-5.
Yeah. And for this, all of these with the dark black lines, those are the truck routes, so.
Correct.
That includes up Meridian and onto Bakerview.
Correct.
Because I've just been tracking that that interchange has been closed or is in the process of getting closed.
It's closed.
The revision.
I-5 there. And so where trucks may have had an easier access to I-5 for going north, they're now going to have to go up and be within a fair bit of other traffic on Meridian and then onto another busy road, Bakerview, to get to I-5.
That would be the alternative choice to where the current revision is.
A larger question, do we get consulted when there are changes to routings for, I don't know, Rob, if you know, that's a decision that impacts, freight that comes into our terminals and then has to go places. Do we ever get asked for consultation when there's those type of changes proposed?
We were not on this one, no. Department of Transportation, the City of Bellingham made the decision, but we weren't consulted.
Do we continue, I know we have, signage that says that we're on a truck route here. Does that signage exist elsewhere so people are kind of expecting and not surprised by trucks being commingled?
Yeah, I brought this up with the mayor a week or two ago, and we're going to look at it and see what we can do I'm going to have some staff look at it and see what there is for signage on the existing route and what we need to do between I-5 and the new Bakerview route up by Costco there. So you're essentially going all the way up to, you're taking the guide up to Bakerview, taking a left on Bakerview, and then getting on northbound there.
Yeah.
You just need to put it back the way it was, because now they got trucks sitting and idling in traffic waiting to go and creating more greenhouse gas out of this maneuver they made without asking people that are at the end of the truck route. It's ridiculous. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it would be nice if we were consulted, but
Yeah.
that's not necessarily
100% right, Commissioner Shepard.
part of this.
Mr. Bell?
I just had a quick one for Elliot. The lease extension, I don't have it pulled up, so is there an annual increase? I didn't see a 3% or a CPI for
Yeah,
annual increases, but I did see a provision where you were going to adjust it, and if you couldn't come to terms.
We do have the lease here, but I can answer your question in general. We've set this up because it's a shorter-term lease. We've set it up at 3% per year. So now it's a table. It can be properly figured out over the years that should match any inflation increases in that time.
And then I saw you had a provision in there where you would adjust it after the 5-year period based on market, and I saw that part.
That's correct. And that's if and only if the commission feels that this is a lease that they would like to continue. There is a provision that if we move things around at the shipping terminal as we continue to upgrade things like the stormwater, which now goes to the ASB, as we continue to move those things, if we have to shift them around a little bit, there is a provision that at year 4, they could ask if we were going to extend it. But again, at the commission's absolute provision to say yes or no.
I saw there was a notification period, and then we had 30 days to respond, and we
Yeah.
could accept or deny that extension.
And to be fair, they would love to do business here for a very long time, but we want to make sure things are tightly controlled down there and we control our growth in a very good way. Does that answer your question?
Perfectly.
I do have one more, are you through?
I just have one more, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to commend staff for the process. You know, we discussed this last time, that the process is been thorough, and it's just had a lot of opportunity for community members and organizations to ask questions, to understand what's going on, which is what we're here to do. And so, great job to Rob and the rest of the team for bringing in a thorough process of vetting and giving enough time for folks in the community to ask questions and then to have good feedback for them. So I really appreciate that. It makes me feel a lot more informed and knowledgeable about the decision we're making. And I think that is true for community members as well.
Yeah, some clarity on the truck traffic. I think everybody's under the assumption it's going to be nothing but semis hauling this gravel out of away from the port lot down there, and I don't think that's the case, is it? Can you step up and, so when we talk about this, I think people are assuming there's going to be 30 semis leaving the port when the barge comes in and goes, but I think you're going to stockpile, and some of that's going to get hauled. It's not all going in semis right away, correct?
No, it'll be, the site is open to the public, so
Right.
we will sell the onesie twosies out of there, you know.
Right, so we're not going to have 30 semis leaving that juncture every time a barge comes in, right?
Not immediately, right?
Yeah.
That's what the purpose of the stockpiles and the effort
Right.
that goes into having the variety of products so we can serve different jobs and projects as demand dictates.
Right, because I think people are assuming once that barge comes in, you're going to have 30 semis lined up down there, they're going to be pounding through town, and that's not the case. You're going to you're going to have some coming, yes, no matter what, depending on your orders, correct?
Yeah,
But a lot of it's going to go in.
by the matter of efficiently moving the material, you got to have the trucks.
Right, right, but I mean, if you're going to have pickup trucks loading up, you're going to have guys with their trailers, dump trailers loading up, that type of stuff.
I would
So-
anticipate there is definitely some of that market, and that is our target.
Okay, I just wanted to
capture
clarify that, because people assume that it's going to be 30 trucks, big trucks right away in
They'll all
town.
be lined up there in the morning, and
Yeah, right.
we'll sell out by noon.
Yeah.
That would be, I'd like to see that. I know that maybe some of the public wouldn't like to see that.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that really wasn't what was going to happen.
Right
so.
on, thanks.
All right, thank you. Anybody have anything further?
John, are you going to draw straws for who gets the waterfront view from Everson? Are you going to?
I'm trying to move
Prime.
my office to the scale right now.
That's prime, dude.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next.
That's an action item.
Oh, yeah, we got to do the action. That was, yeah.
Sorry, motion to approve the harbor land lease between the Port of Bellingham and Granite Construction Company.
Commissioner Shepard,
I'm a yes.
Commissioner Bell,
I mean, yes.
Commissioner Briscoe's a yes as well. Now we're going to move on.
Welcome to the Scale House, John.
So next up is a motion to approve and adopt the updated Bellingham International Airport rules and regulations. That'll be followed by a motion to approve the modification to the airport's tariff and fee schedule. Alex is going to be presenting both of those. Before we move on to those items, there was a mistake on the agenda that was printed up on the back table. The agenda that was online was correct, so we printed copies of that, and there's now a new agenda on the back table. The only difference was the purpose of the executive session. We added a potential litigation matter. The lawyers made me do that. Alex, it's your turn.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Alex Young. I'm one of the airport operations managers at BLI. First, I would like to ask you about the update to the rules and regulations regarding AOA access control. The purpose of this is to secure a vulnerability that was found during our Transportation Security Administration inspection over the past year. The gist of this is to ensure all leasehold, all lessees that constitute the structures around the airport perimeter have been trained and have valid airport badge media. Gentlemen, are there any questions about that?
I have none. Nope.
Motion to approve and adopt the updated Bellingham International Airport rules and regulations.
Commissioner Bell?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Also, yes.
Briscoe is also yes.
Thank you.
Carries 3-0.
The second item would be modification to BLI's airport tariff and fee schedule. We are proposing a nominal increase to 15 of our 43 tariffs. This primarily constitutes a fuel flowage fee for commercial aircraft by 1 cent, from 4 cents to 5 cents per gallon. Airport employee and islander parking, tie-down fees, the use of our closed runway for training, and non-compliance of our annual badge audits.
Commissioner Shepard, any questions?
I don't necessarily, well, I guess do we just revisit these on what kind of timeline do we revisit these fee schedule changes? Or are they on an automatic review session, or how do we do this?
So this is the first time, I've been in airport management since '21, and this is the first time that I've seen us review these. What we found was that we were considerably lower than other airports in our region. So this will probably be the first that you will see, but we will continue to look into these fees.
Okay. Does this bring us more into the middle of the pack with our other like airports?
We are still very low, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay. One thing that might be useful for us that we see from marinas is just a little bit of a comparison of where we are compared to other similar airports. That just helps put it in context for people who don't deal with this on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
That might be useful for the future.
That's a great idea. We'll put that together.
And especially if you're looking to get us closer into the pack.
Of course.
It helps for us to see where we're lagging behind.
Understood, sir.
How they been getting away with 4 cents? I've been having to pay a nickel there at this dock down here for 20 years. How'd they get away with 4 cents?
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
Approve the modifications to the airport tariff and fee schedule, which includes increases in aviation fees and ground service fees for the calendar year of 2025. Just to clarify, those fees will be in effect until you would change them again.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
Commissioner Bell?
If only your boat had wings.
Yes, that's true. If it only had wings.
I'm a yes.
Commissioner Briscoe's a yes. Carries 3-0.
Commissioners, if we can take this moment to thank Alex and Matt and his team. They did an incredible job during our recent weather event. Airports are highly susceptible to weather. Seattle, Vancouver, Bellingham all had delays during that event, but I think our team did a really good job of keeping the runway clean and keeping the planes flying.
Don't worry, I'm much better at that than I am at presenting.
And you got to use all that nice new equipment, right? Yes, sir. Worked out well?
And I actually drove by Abbotsford Airport yesterday, and it was just a mess. So it was great to drive by this one and see traffic actually coming in. It was, yeah, thank you.
Great job, staff. Okay, now we're going to move on to a presentation for the 2024 year-end financial presentation. Gee, I wonder who that's going to be. And a joke?
No joke today.
Oh, jeez.
I'll bring 2 next time. So Tamara Sobczak, CFO. I've got a 3-part presentation for you. The first part is our quarterly updates. Second part is the financial updates. And then the third part is the fun updates, our key corporate goals and some examples of what we've done to meet those in 2024. So we'll dive right into these quarterly reports. This is a slide we haven't seen in a while. The fourth quarter stormwater program, both permits, sample results were within permit limits. And all trading and record keeping are in compliance. Public records requests, we ended the year with 128. That's about normal. One thing to note is the staff hours that were required to meet those public records requests. 401 hours in 2023 and almost 650 in 2024. So that just means that these records, while there's only 128 requests, they're more complicated, more time consuming. It's not the one-off document, it's the any and all emails, it's the any and all, procurement records, those types of things.
What percentage of those 128 would you say make up the majority of the time?
a very small percentage of,
So you'll get one or two requests that take hundreds of hours to process.
I would say a few a quarter take up the majority of the time. Yeah.
Looking for dirt, not gonna find any.
Safety reports, we did have 7 injuries last year. It's a recordable incident rate of 6.42. Not great, but we are reviewing our accident prevention plan, training managers to look for things. So hopefully we can have a safer environment for our workers next year.
So these major or minor? There's nothing that says anything about that.
Yeah, a couple of them, let's see, we had 60 days of time loss and 120 days of light duty. So a couple of them were pretty major.
Okay.
So moving on to the financial results. We ended the year, this is Portwide operating, we ended the year at just over $29 million in revenue. We had budgeted 31.6, and in 2023, we came in at 29.4 million. So we ended the year almost exactly where we were in 2023. We were able to hold expenses below budget, and we came in net 4.6 million net revenues to 4.8 budget. So very, very close to what we had planned on doing. Diving into that, the aviation department came in at just under $7 million in revenue. They had budgeted $8 million. And they were able to also hold their expenses down, knowing that the revenues were lighter. So they came in net 471,000 deficit, 268,000 deficit, what was budgeted. Still, I call that pretty close.
Was most of the revenue from Southwest leaving? Yeah.
The parking revenue, it's just really the activity, yeah. Marinas, very year over year, pretty much the same. That's what happens when you have a high occupancy, right? Our marinas are full. Predictable revenues, predictable expenses. Our cruise terminal also is very predictable for revenues. You know, it's the same business. Please disregard the 2023 expenses. In 2023, we had to buy some mitigation credits, and that's why you're seeing that spike. But that's not a year over year. It was just an anomaly that year. Shipping terminal, when we budgeted for 2024, we weren't 100% sure of the schedule of the project. So that's why we budgeted a little bit more optimistic, I would say. We came in just over $1 million revenue and 1.4 expenses. Real estate is sort of the same story as the marinas, right? High occupancy, very predictable revenues, predictable expenses. So nothing to report here. And then overhead again, those are a lot of fixed costs. Those are executive department, admin, facilities. And then our waterfront came in 1.6 million revenues, 2.6 million expenses, which is very, very close to budget.
So when you say our waterfront, what does that include?
So that's our, like the container village revenues, all the cost down there. It's the, I think the F Street warehouse is included in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
F Street Warehouse is a lion's share of it, but then there's a lot of miscellaneous revenue as well.
And remind me, are we going to see any additional containers at the Container Village for this upcoming year, or is that into next year?
We're excited to have a brand-new bathroom. Not too many people get excited about bathrooms, but I do. It's pretty cool. It's 12 stalls, 6 on each side, I believe, and that'll help alleviate some of the lines that we have at the bathroom. That'll be the only addition for this coming up season, but then we're looking at probably 4 new containers, and we've got some businesses lined up for the 2026 season.
And all existing customers from last year will be back?
All the containers will be back. I'm not sure on the food trucks. We're going to start reaching out to them shortly and lining them up, but all our containers that were there last year will be there this year.
Circus coming back?
Is the circus coming back? Yes, the circus is coming back.
Bigger big tent or?
I think the same plan.
Oh, okay.
You know, the circus was on, who was it? Was it Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers has a late night show, and they talked about one of the people that performed in the circus as part of a show called Severance. And this actress was on there talking about her show Severance, and she talked about the circus in Bellingham. Kind of cool. Apparently, the producer of Severance went to Western.
So I got sidetracked. I was thinking, gosh, if we could only charge for those bathrooms, could make some money on them. Okay, so all other public. The revenues are mainly meetings and events. We budgeted $323,000, and we came in at $435,000. I just want to mention that that team is very busy. They are swamped. And then the expenses came in right at budget.
The breakdown of revenue, how much of that would be Zwanich versus?
I don't have that information. I wonder if Stephanie might be able to get that. Probably have to run.
You're talking about the boathouse versus the dome room? We can give you, we'll send you all a breakdown of that.
I'm just curious.
We can get that. I just don't know. And then all of that leads to, again, a solid balance sheet. I'd like to mention the gray area is our liabilities. And remember, we issued debt in July, so that's reflected here. But still, with that, our net assets went up from $298 million to $300 million. So keeping a strong balance sheet. Investments, we have $8 million in federal securities. We had just a slew of called investments, so that's why it's pretty low. I like to keep it around 11 or 12. Average yield on those is 2.5%. The balance in our LGIP is earning, at the end of December, 4.6%.
For those watching and don't know the acronym, LGIP is?
Oh, Local Government Investment Pool.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep the majority there.
One of the ones that couldn't remember that, so.
Yeah, we keep it there
trying to
because
do
we
the
can
math.
transfer very
Look like
easily.
that, right?
You renegotiate that earnings rate. 4.6 is a great rate, so,
It's based on the feds.
yeah, but how often, so it's a.
It's monthly, it changes, yep. Okay, so now to look at our 7 key corporate goals for 2024. One of those goals is to plan necessary environmental cleanups, and one of those cleanups was dredging along the shipping terminal, along the pier face to achieve greater operational depth. This was done in coordination with Ecology to ensure dredge materials met the disposal standards for the Whatcom Waterway Cleanup Project, and this is expected to be completed this fall. The I&J Waterway is well underway. I believe this is, I want to say it's north of $20 million project, so it's a big one. The existing dock and shoreline infrastructure was demolished, install a new bulkhead, dredge contaminated sediment, and then replace that dock structure. And then the Yorkston oil site. This was the demolition of a former fuel terminal infrastructure. Then we excavated the petroleum contaminated soil, and then backfill and restoration. And this one is also nearly complete. Strategic management of the airport. We built a snow removal equipment hangar that houses our new truck so that it stays out of the weather when not in use. And that was 90% funded through the FAA, total cost of $5.2 million, and that was completed about a year ago. Please don't ask me to pronounce what PFAS stands for. I tried, and I have it, I just don't know how to say it.
Polyfluorinated aromatic substance.
Thank you, thank you. And it,
Polyfluorinated aromatic substance.
something like that.
Say that 3 times fast.
I can.
What I know is that it has a forever chemical in it, and that's bad for the environment. So we were able to combine efforts with the Port of Seattle and remove that stuff from 2 of our ARF trucks. And then the commercial terminal rooftop solar. Ecotech Solar installed these modules on the rooftop of our commercial terminal. And then the MB2 liquid de-ice truck. This is the new piece of equipment, the new fancy shiny thing that airports got to use recently. It holds 1,500 gallons of liquid de-ice, 50-foot spreading boom. It cost about $650,000, and the FAA paid 90% of that, and that was delivered just a few months ago.
How did it work, Alex?
Very well, sir.
Did you get to drive?
I do not drive anymore. The guys get to have all the fun.
Is there a reason you don't drive anymore?
I have to do snow control. They get to have the fun.
And,
We'll see you tomorrow.
and if I'm correct, this is for runway de-icing, not plane de-icing, right?
Correct, sir. All movement area, not
Okay.
just the runway.
So airlines are responsible for de-icing planes where we maintain the grounds that airplanes and other craft drive on.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay. So if you're waiting for your airplane to be delayed, to be de-iced, and it's not going fast enough, it's not because our staff is not moving quickly. We've already done our work to keep the runway open. We try and support our airline partners to move as fast as possible, but it is their responsibility to do plane de-icing. Yeah.
What's in the de-icer that we have in that tank?
It's sodium formate and other liquid. We have to use
Salt water.
very, very specific chemicals on the movement area, sir.
Right, okay.
FAA approved, I'm sure.
Another corporate goal was to stimulate economic development and job creation. I'm just going to read these. I couldn't condense them. Completed business and expansion visits and recruitment requests throughout Whatcom County with business and industries in key sectors of value-added agriculture, manufacturing, technology, recreation, energy, and marine trades. The Economic Development Department managed annual reporting to Washington State Commerce for the Strategic Reserve Fund, grants provided to support capital improvements to 5 businesses, resulting in the expansion of each organization's labor force. And then finally, coordinated with the Public Utility District in Whatcom County to prepare the BEAD applications for submission. And those were either submitted recently or they're about to be submitted. I just don't remember which. And this is just 3 of probably 20 that I could have highlighted. And the department's done a lot of work last year. Employee retention was another key corporate goal. We launched our 3rd annual employee engagement survey last February. And again, the highest rated comment was, I enjoy the people I work with. And then there were some opportunities from management that were identified, increase employee acknowledgement, maintain strong communication, and then spotlight the professional development policies. We also had some fun. The employee committee puts on some fun events. The chili cook-off is always a huge hit. Winter in July was a new one, and then Adopt a Family in December, which the employees really love because it's a chance for us to give back to the community. Expansion of marine trades. So we held our 3rd annual Marine Trades Job Fair in the Fisherman's Pavilion. There were 42 vendors, 10 hands-on activities, and over 350 visitors. And this was done in partnership with the Tech School, Lummi Nation, Nooksack Tribe, Working Waterfront Coalition, Working Waterfront Foundation, and the Northwest Center of Excellence for Marine Manufacturing and Technology. So a huge effort.
I'd like to acknowledge a big thank you from, I'm sure, all the commission to the staff, people that helped with that and the people that put it on. Thank you very much.
The expansion of marine trades. BST portable barge ramp, design and engineering commenced in 2024, and construction is happening in 2025. And it can provide additional marine trades work in Bellingham. And then another goal was the redevelopment of the shipping terminal in Log Pond, and this is the big project that we've been talking about, the pier rehabilitation. Increasing deck capacity to 1,200 pounds per square foot from 680 pounds per square foot, allowing heavy equipment to operate on the new pier deck. Removing 140 feet of linear pier deck, new upgraded stormwater treatment is going to be installed. This is what Commissioner Shepard mentioned. And then this is on schedule or expected to be completed in summer of 2025. And then finally, ongoing development in the Waterfront District. We partnered with the Bellingham Downtown Partnership to strengthen the small business support in downtown Bellingham. And then in partnership with the port, Corex DE Systems launched the Bellingham District Energy Utility System. And then finally, Mercy Housing Northwest completed construction of their 83-unit affordable housing project. So all that to say, we did a lot of work last year. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Shepherd?
Nope, no questions. Nice job, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Oh, he's got it all scribbled down over here.
Yeah, just a couple. Just the turnover in real estate and turnover in marinas. We're pretty steady with the customers that we've got. This may not need to be a question for you. This may be for marinas, but we don't see a whole lot of turnover either in our tenant base, Elliott, or in our marinas, in the boats that come in and out. Or we don't see the typical activity that we would see if we had a little more churning of the boats. I ask this a lot.
Are you asking me if the wait list moves?
Yeah.
Not very quickly.
Thank you for putting that in layman's terms. Yes. Yeah. And I would assume that real estate's kind of the same.
Yeah, thank you for your question.
Our wait list.
Elliot Smith. We don't have a wait list. We do have a reasonable churn in some of our smaller facilities, smaller businesses that come and go. Maybe they sell and a new generation comes in. We do not have excess capacity to have new businesses come in. That will require us to build more. So our occupancy level is quite high, but we do see a pretty steady churn in some of the smaller business spaces at the waterfront or other similar areas.
I'd like to point out to my fellow commissioner that in the 80s, it was a want list. We wanted more boats in our harbor to fill it up, so the wait list is better.
In the Marine Drive complex, Elliot, is that fully leased? Sorry about that. I meant to get to that before, but I was interrupted.
He left.
Thank you. Yes, the Marine Drive, the buildings there, we have one additional building that needs some work on siding and insulation. All of them are going to need over time more work to comply with modern standards. We knew that when we built the buildings. One building project that we've put off for the moment is what was the former office building for Ershig's. We have a number of short-term leases in there, month to month, so that when we do move to a plan to redevelop that facility, we're able to clear it. The other buildings are all either used by the port or leased out to businesses, and I'm very happy to see how many employees are in there now. I don't have an exact number for you at this moment, but it's well over 50 or 60 people working on boat building, signs, fabrication, welding, preparation for work off sites. It's quite encouraging. Drive through there anytime. You'll see lots of cars working there on a daily basis.
Yeah, I just went through the other day. And what about the office building? What's your time frame for doing anything with that? Is there a time frame?
We're kind of on hold for a moment. We maintain that site. It could be that we have somebody come in through the economic development team and say, hey, we need a site that's on the truck routes that you saw earlier, where they could build something. We could build more manufacturing spaces there, or the port could use it themselves. But at this moment, we're on hold until we find the best use for it. In the meantime, I think you'll see it well cared for and quite busy inside.
It is. Yeah. I just see it as an area for growth, so I
Indeed,
keep an eye
yeah.
on it. Thank you.
Mr. Shepherd, any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have another presentation, an update on the waterfront work session.
Thanks, Commissioners. Brian Gowron, Director of Environment and Planning Services. So I don't have a presentation for you today. So it's our typical waterfront, as I typically do with the waterfront. Actually, this is more
it's a
where,
work session.
well, it's under presentations, but I don't have a slideshow for you. So this is actually more trying to take an opportunity to talk to the Commission about what you would like to see for some of the waterfront open houses and some work sessions. We talked about that at a commission meetings last year. Commissioner Bell brought it up. We had talked to staff that we were going to be working at planning a few open houses, getting a variety of folks together to talk about the waterfront, what the overall vision could be, given the bookends that we already have with the sub-area plan and that kind of thing. We have been, in the meantime, as that's been going, we've been working with the city team on planning for the marine trades transition with the ASB. So that's been what our focus has been, but we recognize that staff had indicated we would be planning this and haven't really gotten to it. So this was the opportunity to really maybe hear from the commissioners what you'd like to see in those sessions. So, I mean, we are anticipating planning some open houses for the public to come hear about what's happening just in general, and especially with the ASB marine trades planning. We've been working with our tenants and the stakeholders in that area pretty focused. But I understand, and this through community interest, that there's probably a broader discussion that we can have on what are we planning for our next RFPs for properties. Where are we at with the different development projects? What are we happening in the Bellingham Shipping Terminal and the other areas of the waterfront district as a whole? That could also include our city partners because they have a number of parks that are under design and that kind of thing. So staff have anticipated doing some focus things, but we really wanted to have this just take the quick opportunity to hear from the commission, maybe report back then with more detail at the next the commission meeting on kind of mapping that out. But mostly was this just an opportunity to solicit some input and some discussion between the commissioners for what you'd like to see. And Commissioner Bell, you'd brought this up in the past, so I don't know if you kind of wanted to make sure that we're hearing what your hopes for that.
Yeah, that is, making sure we've got the right interested parties in the room is really part of it. Also understanding that we're looking for a 2025 vision for what we're doing in each one of the areas that the port is responsible for. So as we look at the waterfront, as we look at the shipping terminal, as we look at Fairhaven, as we look at Blaine, as we look at the airport, that we have an opportunity to discuss with the public at large what that vision looks like, what's in place, what can't move, what's your input, have the interested parties involved that include everybody from, on the waterfront, let's say, Maura Ingram from Community Foundation and the South Hill neighborhood and the mayor and, city council members, and have a real dialogue about what our vision is, and then have an understanding as we talk to each other. I'd like to have a more open dialogue with the other commissioners about what impact does something have. So let's say we put, like we did tonight, we put granite on the waterfront. What does that mean for the rest of that area? What is the design for the remainder of the property that's there? What does that look like? What impact does that have? If we get a proposal for something down between, Colony and Hilton Harbor, if we do one action there, what impact does that have on all the other actions in the area? And what's that big vision look like for each one of those areas? If we put something in the industrial park, what's the vision for the industrial park and all of the stakeholders that are involved with that? So I just wanted to make sure that we had all the right people in the room, included political leaders, included any kind of outside interest group that would be interested in commenting. I just want to make sure that with each one of those areas that we have a long-term plan, that we have a long-term vision, that we get a chance to discuss it openly in public and amongst each other with the outside interests. So that continues to be my interest.
Okay. I mean, I think just also to add on that, the other thing I didn't mention is that when this first came up, we were also in the midst of planning the Bellingham Shipping Terminal open houses, which I think were really successful. Brought in a lot of folks from the longshoremen, had the construction folks. Granite was there. We've got a great kind of throughput of people coming to kind of learn about what's going on down there and what the long-term plans are. So we can definitely do more of that, but shift it to the waterfront a little bit more. And so there's lots of ways we can do this, and we're trying to do more of that just in general. But if we wanted to make sure I was clarifying, is there an interest in like the commission having a work study session, for example, versus an open house, so that we're just planning this and getting you the information you need?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of the way we're structured, the only opportunity we have to talk to each other is in that kind of an environment.
Yeah.
And I just think more dialogue would be helpful.
Okay.
Commissioner Shepard.
Yeah, I welcome us being doing some of that visioning for what will come. I think that'd be a productive commission and staff conversation. I think that sounds like that would be a separate initiative from these open houses, which are more public input driven, where we would have an opportunity to share what's coming up that we know of, and then have some targeted feedback on a couple new opportunities for the future. And those probably would consist of opportunities for redevelopment of the alcohol plant. That could be one area where you solicit some feedback, particularly for the convention hall concept. And another could be around a targeted RFP. Those are just some that could work. I don't know if we could wrap in some discussion of the war for the pier there and how that is going to materialize in the future. But we do well anytime we are broadcasting that information and soliciting some feedback in a variety of ways.
Yeah, I could see how, like, the open house setting that we did for the Bellingham Shipping Terminal, where we had, a number of different stations. There are so many moving parts in the waterfront district that you could do a station for each one of those topics, just that people could come and go. The pier could be one, the ASB could be another. There could be a discussion about what the parks have. Just that's more of an information exchange, but also soliciting feedback, input, just ideas that we can then take maybe and then have a broader kind of visioning session with the commission, or a work study session with the commission. So lots of ways that we can take this. So I was just trying to get some ideas, and then maybe the next commission meeting or two, we can present, kind of the thoughts and the timing for the details of what those might look like.
Yeah, and understanding that one does impact the other. You've got all those moving parts, but you do something with one, it's going to have an impact on them. So talk through those ramifications. What does that mean in each one of those areas?
And I think there's just a lot of curiosity. I mean, there's a lot of people, we're in this every day dealing with it, right? And we kind of forget how much down in the details that we can be, and take it for granted that people drive by that pier every day and have no idea what the plans are. So just even just sharing out information, that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
And there's also a lack of understanding, I think, in the community about how many things we have our fingers in.
Right.
We have a tremendous amount of work that goes on here. And I think getting that out, what we're doing in each one of those areas, is important.
Yeah, even just the board mill, I think some people have heard about it, but nothing started in terms of construction. So for most people, it's pretty off the radar.
Right.
And that's a great opportunity for us to tell a good story about what's coming up. Same with Millworks Phase 2.
Right.
Another great story of, here's what we're concrete plans that are going to occur, and we can really help communicate. Just hearing this, it feels like the community conversation would be good to have prior to ours.
Yeah.
So we have something to talk about in terms of, this is what we heard from the public, and let that inform our decision. But I guess they could go either way, but I could see some benefit of that, having some public data to drive our conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know how you feel about it. If you want to,
Yeah.
which order you were looking for.
And just on that note, you've got, the condos are going to be opening up. There's going to be a flood of people in there at some point. I assume they're all going to get built and they're all going to get sold. And then you got the board mill coming up, and how does that tie into the alcohol plant? How does that tie into what Millworks is doing? What does that big picture look like on that site?
Right.
And what is our visioning for that?
And I think we want to be careful with our visioning, that we don't go with the single vision like it was done with the ASB pond when it was said it was going to be a marina. And that we have multiple choices, if you will. In my mind, the way that works best is we have the multiple choices, and then we have what we're speaking to, and we take the feedback from that to go, and I think I tried to say this the right way before, it's kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. If we go there to these things without our multiple visions, however many that may be, and say to the people, what do you want? Well, we were elected, and staff has a job here to kind of figure out that box, and then we play inside that box and let the people help us decide what it is they want. So I want to make sure that that's where we're at before we do this, because we're going to kind of look silly if we're sitting there and they're going, well, what do you guys want to do? Well, we don't know. That's why you're here. What do you want to do? So I want to caution that we do have our ducks in a row really well before we do that. So, because I know at this point in time, I think there's a lot of difference in opinion right here in this, that what we want to do.
Sure.
I think we all have different visions, and they're all good, but I think we have to have more than a singular thing for sure when we show up. I think that what we do have are visions that we all have, all three of us have to have some confidence in that that's where we need to go.
That would probably
And
speak,
take our feedback from the folks.
that would probably speak to maybe us having one first. And let's take an area, don't care where you start, but let's take an area, have a discussion about what that should look like from our standpoint, what our options are from that standpoint.
As well as the
before we-
staff.
Sure,
The
yeah.
staff's got a lot of good ideas. We need, I mean, we
That's
need.
what I meant, internal, yeah.
Internal, to find out, what everybody's thinking.
But in a format where we can actually talk to each other.
Yeah, okay.
And what is really a reality, what can we do? I mean, there's a lot of monetary constraints this day and age, unfortunately. Somebody
And-
cut
and
down a money tree and I don't know where the seeds are.
And infrastructure restraints and,
Yeah.
and zoning restraints. Yeah, all of those play a role.
Okay, so kind of what I'm hearing is that maybe setting up some, back to the kind of the original concept of what we did up in Blaine a while ago, where we had kind of a focused conversation, variety of different topics, where the commission gets to talk and has a little feedback to the staff, and then based on that, then we can then go broader with the open houses, just to present more clearly what the commission's visioning.
Yeah, and the follow-up to that would be, once we get through that, we take action with that. So
Yeah.
what we did in Blaine has to show up somewhere, memorialized somehow, right? We take all that in, what does it mean? What's the vision now for Blaine in that area?
Right,
So that
okay.
we can communicate a single vision.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think this is good, at least gives us, feels like gives us enough direction. We can come back with, a thought on and a schedule, and, we kind of let it hang a little bit there, so apologies for that, but we want to make sure we were, being responsive to the commission's requests.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, the last vision we had for the waterfront was the drawing that Harcourt has. So most of the population sees that last vision, the picture that was what was gonna be. And it just needs modification. It's 2025, that may not be that anymore. A lot of office buildings in that aren't going to exist today. So just, what if Harcourt moves forward? What if we move forward? Just those kind of things, just so
Okay.
that we update the vision from the port perspective and to the public.
Sounds good. Anything else, commissioners? I think we got at least clear direction to come back to you with a schedule and more clarity to that, kind of defining what we're going to do. Okay.
Good presentation, Brian, thanks.
Yeah, great slideshow, yeah.
Okay, looks like we have a community outreach update.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Stephanie Wiley, Community Outreach Manager. I am, going to be doing a year in review for all of our community outreach programs. I wanted to start with, when we're talking about community outreach for the port, what are we talking about? So our community outreach is made up of 3 teams that help serve as a bridge between the port and the community, enhancing communication, education, local engagement, and customer service. So we have our kind of sub-community outreach team that includes Dockside Market, our social media management, and our corporate events. And that's Andrew Silverman and Carrie Chan. And then we have our meetings and events team, Allie Vincent and Alex Smith, that coordinate the rentals of our event facilities. And then we have our Marine Life Center team, Casey Cook, Sierra Howard, Anna Brown, and Jenny Bagney, that of course operate the Marine Life Center. So, going to do a quick overview on all of these programs, what happened in 2024. So starting with Dockside Market, we had 23 markets. We did unfortunately have to cancel a market this year because of some unsafe weather. We were still out at Gate 5 and we had gale force winds, so we couldn't really ask our vendors to set up for that market. But we have our markets taking place at Gate 5, June through October, and then we move into the Fisherman's Pavilion, November through May. In 2024, we had 20 vendors as a part of our market, which is really exciting. The previous 2 years, we had about 14 each season, so we have grown. That's exciting to see our vendors numbers grow. And we have 11 fishermen vendors and then 9 of our kind of craft, artist, and hot food vendors. And through the market, we estimated about 15,000 visitors. in 2024. In 2023, we estimated 12,000 visitors. So we are continuing to get growth in people hearing about us. We get a lot of marketing through other forms. We're on the Farm to Table Trails map, which is really exciting. And the Hamster Wheel, which is a newsletter that people can subscribe to, they market us every time. Bellingham Experience, which is tourism's social media channels, have also featured Dockside Market. So we have some really great opportunities that have come up, and we do a lot of our marketing through our own newsletter and social media.
Yeah, we need to get that sign on that electric sign on that corner up there too.
Always need more signs. All right, moving on to the Marine Life Center. I like to put that big number in bold because it's really exciting. We had over 37,000 visitors through the Marine Life Center in 2024. Really, really big numbers. In 2023, we estimated about 31,000, so we're continuing to get more and more visitors through our center. We really focused on our education program this year. We started doing weekly toddler times, which has been really popular. And then we had 125 class visits, which the previous year we had 60 class visits to the center. So we more than doubled that. And that has been really exciting to see that team kind of dive more into the education program. We, of course, had our stars of the center, our octopuses. We had 2 octopuses in 2024, Sherlock that we released in August and Marcellus that we released in December. And some other notable stats, we had over 500 hours of volunteer hours through the center, which is really great. We love our volunteer program. We participated in a lot of special events. What's the Point at Point Whitehorn, the Kiwanis Steam Expo up in Linden, the Wake and Shake series at the Downtown Waterfront and the Marine Trades Job Fair, Day on the Bay, Walk and Water Week. We participated in a lot of special events. And a really big thing for us this year was we applied for our first grant. Since the Marine Life Center was a part of the port, we applied for the Inspire grants for small museums, and we're waiting to hear. We won't hear about that until August, so pins and needles. But we're excited to start looking at more grant opportunities to help fund the good work of the center.
Would that grant provide a new program or fund existing operations?
Yeah, so the grant is to help pay for the new tank in the center. So we have to replace the observation tank, which is our big pool right in the center of the center. And that the grant that we applied for will help pay for the new tank to go into the center.
Do you know, is that tank going to be composite or is it concrete? Or what are they going to?
The new tank that we are looking at is an acrylic tank, and it'll be, the design is kind of a cascading waterfall tank, so smaller pools. So we're doing prep work already. We have to transfer some of our larger fish that are currently living in that center tank. We'll be transferring some of them to the Seattle Aquarium and other regional aquariums that may have tank space, but it'll be an acrylic tank.
What's the cost of that tank?
The cost of the tank is $85,000. So the grant that we applied for, because we have to have matching funds, we applied for half of the tank cost.
And I'm assuming this is a custom-built tank?
It is a custom-built tank.
They're built locally?
It is not built locally. I believe the tank designer and manufacturer, I believe he's on the East Coast, but it's like one of the companies that is most well known for designing and building tanks for aquariums.
That's a state grant?
It is a federal grant.
Good luck.
Yes, hopefully. It's for museums, come on.
So now this has got a cascading bit of a waterfall, you said, in it?
Yeah, so it'll be like a horseshoe-shaped tank, so our staff can stand in the middle and kind of give presentations.
Oh, okay.
And then each section will cascade, so it'll be like a cascading flow to help with some of the...
That helps with aeration.
Yeah.
Clean the tank, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and social media. So this is an exciting one. In 2024, we launched an official social media strategy for the port. And with that, we're aiming to engage and inform our community through targeted platform-specific content, because each platform really does have a different audience and serve a different purpose. So we're trying to meet those people where they're at. And we use all of our channels to communicate our progress towards our key corporate goals, as well as other port news and updates. So along the bottom of the screen, you'll see our follower counts across our 4 main platforms: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And again, we've seen really, really good growth in followers and engagement in our social media over the past year. I did want to highlight our corporate events or large community events. So we have all of these big events that our team partners with other organizations to put on for the community. So Ski to Sea, 4th of July, Northwest Tune-Up, Sea Feast, and Holiday Port are just a few that we partner on, but that also includes Fire and Story, which is the festival that just happened. The April Brews Day will be coming up. The Shoestring Circus will be back at the downtown waterfront. The Noisy Waters Mural Festival. We have a lot of really great community events happening on port property, and it's really fun to get to partner with those organizations. And then meetings and events. So as Tamara said earlier, we had an absolutely wild year for meetings and events. We had really big numbers, keeping our staff really busy. So we had a total of 605 reservations. So those are among all of our venues: the Bellingham Cruise Terminal, the 2 container shops at the downtown waterfront, the open space rentals, Marine Park, the Paulson Stage and downtown waterfront unimproved spaces, the Zwanich Point Park, Squalicum Boathouse, the Fisherman's Pavilion, and Blaine Boating Center. So a lot of spaces that we rent out. And within those total reservations, we also look at bookings. So when someone wants to have an event with us, they get a reservation, but they can have multiple bookings, which is what we're seeing a major increase in. People will want to come and have their wedding, but then also their rehearsal dinner, and then also the brunch the morning after the wedding. So for one reservation, we may have 4 bookings. So we had over 1,200 bookings last year. So that's also every time our staff has to go and open and close a building. So it's a lot of staff time. We had, looking at hours spent in our facilities, we had over 11,000 hours spent in meetings and events in our facilities, which is great. And I think this is interesting. That is 482 24-hour days is how many hours were spent in port facilities. So, and we had more than 56,000 estimated attendees at our events last year. And all of those, well, not all of those, but a lot of those become customers for us. When we ask our customers, how did you find out about our spaces? They say, well, I attended an event. So that's a lot more potential customers for us. That's also showing people all of the great spaces that they can access down at the port. And this is a picture of the whole community outreach team. So any questions that I can answer?
Commissioner Bell? Commissioner Shepherd?
So are our spaces full enough that we need more spaces to rent? Or are we, you're like, no, don't give me any more to rent. We've got our hands full already.
We have our hands pretty full. I mean, I'll always take more spaces because I always think we're so close to being in the black for meetings and events budget for our operating costs. If we can just have one more space, maybe that's more revenue so we can cover our costs. But that is also more staff time. And so I don't want to scare my staff away by having too many spaces for us to manage. So it's a fine line.
Yeah. What type of space, like, is it the boathouse that fills up the most, and the spaces that, or what type,
Yeah.
what space do you need the most of in addition? You
The-
don't have to answer that today, but
Yeah, well, I will say the boathouse is our most popular
Yeah.
space, I think, for the size. You know, for banquet seating in there, it's about 80 people in capacity. For like a theater style where you have a meeting, you can get about 100 in there. And it's definitely our most popular, our most well-used. We get so many meetings. We get, you know, June is almost always completely booked up by like end of February because we get all of the graduation parties that want to use that space. But we are starting to see more and more out-of-town weddings coming through. So now our customer base is also not just Whatcom County. It's we get a lot of people coming down from Vancouver. We get a lot of people coming up from Seattle and wanting to use our spaces because they're beautiful, they have great locations, there's parking included, and it's a lot cheaper than, you know, $20,000 for a Seattle venue to come in and use our spaces, which is also why we're seeing more of the multi-day, multiple bookings per event.
okay, just food for thought.
Yeah.
Great. Everything sounds really good, and I want to thank your staff and all the volunteer people that help put all these events on the harbor. I know staff volunteers a lot of their time after
Yes,
their
they do.
pay hours, and thank you very much for that. And I'd like to thank Tiffany for moving Sea Feast or getting Sea Feast into the time frame that it's going to be in for this year, and that's comes not only from myself but from a lot of vendors and from the fishing people in our harbor. Thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our public meeting, with the exception of our public comment. Do we have any public comment? Nobody has anything to say? Oh, here we go.
Andrew Shelton, working Waterfront Coalition Government Relations Team. I think Dan's worried that you're getting tired of him. He's down at the Working Waterfront National Coalition. He says hello. Warm thanks to Brian for all the collaboration with the coalition, and thanks to the commissioners for voting for the Granite lease. We want people working down there. That's our mission, so appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, other business. Commissioner Bell.
Mine just a real quick one, just because it's on my plate. Been contacted by Craig Henderson about the other boat ramp.
The what?
The other boat ramp. boat
He wants to
launch.
put a handcraft launch in Swans Point Park. We've talked to you about this in the past, over by the day dock there. They'd wheel the boats through Swans Point Park and launch them down there. He went out and got a permit for that project on his own. It's not funded, so he's looking for funding for the project.
And I just wanted to put that on our radar screen. I don't want to debate
So-
it tonight. I just
so-
want to make sure that we discuss it at some point.
Somebody went out and got a permit to put something in on our dock and property.
He worked with us a bit on it. I mean, he came to us and said, hey, if I get a permit and can fund this thing, will you guys allow it? And
Oh, okay.
yeah, but it's not funded. We didn't have it in our, we had it in one draft of the budget, but it didn't make the final cuts.
Okay.
Are they looking for internal funding to bring to the table? I feel like that could be a,
Yeah, he had some matching funds that he wanted to put on the table to help fund it.
I think it's an $80,000 project, and I don't want to quote exactly how many she had, but I don't think it was 10% of that.
I think he's got a little bit more now, but it's still
it would seem like it would need to be a substantial bit.
probably something we should discuss, is my take.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to discuss, we had a couple things here. Fuel in Blaine. We got several emails from some individuals who, from Blaine Harbor, who are interested in fueling services. I know I've talked with Rob about it before. There seems to be a pinch point in folks not being able to get fuel as easily as they would like. And there's an interest in us as a public entity providing that service. I think it's pretty challenging. They're hard to permit and hard to operate. I'm not necessarily advocating that we provide that service, but I'd like to be able to provide a response to those groups that have contacted us.
Yeah, I was copied on that email, and I'd replied that I'd put it on the agenda for the 18th pending the commission's approval of that agenda. But my plan for the 18th was to present to you where we're at, kind of with the cleanups have to happen before you can do a field dock, present to you what we think the costs of a field dock are and what that process would look like.
Okay, so that's for the 18th. We'll discuss more.
It's up to the commission president to set the agenda, but
Oh.
And I want to talk with Rob a little bit more about it. So I can kind of give you my take on things, seeing so I'm there, around there all the time, and I get fuel. So the biggest problem we got is gasoline. Okay, diesel's easy to get up there. Gasoline is not. Our suppliers here won't bring a gas truck up there. So they got to go across to Semiahmoo, which creates a problem because over there they're doing what we discussed they were always going to do. They jack the prices up because they got a monopoly on the situation. Nothing we can do about that. You know, there was further personal involvement there that created all this because you got people that don't like each other. One guy on his boat and one guy on the dock is running the dock, and there's a confrontation that went on. It's kind of started this whole thing. You know, as you spoke to it, permitting them and getting them, and we can permit it, we can get it, but if somebody wants to drop us about $100 million to work with, we can definitely get it done in short order. We've got a lot of big projects that we've got to do that, you know, represents to a lot of people a lot of things, whereas the fuel dock is it's a limited number, and it's expensive. And don't get me wrong, I want a fuel dock there, and we're going to have a fuel dock there one of these days. We've got some ideas in our head and how to do it and do it efficiently. You know, a dock off an upland situation like what was there really doesn't work well anymore.
Who is our head?
Excuse me?
Who is our head? You said we got some ideas in our head.
Well, we've had
You guys.
meetings staff-wise, and
we've had discussions on this in budget sessions with the commission, and
I think you were there for the
I was,
one.
I just wanted
It
to
was
make sure.
included with the Sawtooth talk, what we were gonna do with the fuel dock. So this isn't something that's gone on untalked about and unthought about. You know, we do have a lot of cleanup we gotta do there. I don't think we can put the fuel dock back where it was. It doesn't make any sense. You know, we've got a barge idea maybe to replace the Sawtooth with a fuel dock on the end of it. There's a lot of stuff's been talked about amongst the people that are from Blaine, you know, the guys that are in the harbor there, and myself and staff, and we haven't had a public, which we probably need to have another public one in Blaine on what we're gonna do with that Sawtooth dock and get some more input from the people. But the bottom line is, on this deal, from what I could gather, from what I was told, what I read, we've got a couple individuals that aren't seeing eye to eye, and one of them's on the fuel dock, and one of them's on the boat. So I don't know that we need to have this on our, you know, I mean, it's up to you guys, but I don't know that we need to have this discussion on our agenda on the 18th for what are we gonna do in Blaine with the fuel dock when we don't quite know yet. I mean, someone can come and we can have a discussion, but we don't really, it's kind of what we spoke about earlier. We really don't have 3 ideas to put forth, this is what we're gonna do, or the time frame we can do it in. Monetarily, we're pretty constrained, and it's a pretty big undertaking. You know, it's not just the fuel dock, it's where you're gonna put the fuel, how you gonna get it there, and the cost. Is if somebody gonna run it, or are we gonna run it? So there's a lot to be discussed internally. I understand the frustration, believe me, I do. But this isn't something that's just being ignored. You know, it's on staff's radar for someday. We don't know when. We've got a lot of things to do there first.
I think that the cleanup is the #1 priority in Blaine, and we have to get that funded through MODCA, and what we're doing with the MODCA budget right now isn't going to help that. So Mike and I were down in Olympia last week lobbying for MODCA funding and not having MODCA swept, because that funds are important for doing Blaine. You're not going to be able to put a field dock in until you get the cleanup done.
Right. So, and that's 2 years away at least. So,
Yeah.
it does present a problem because you can't get gas to your boats other than going to that fuel dock. So I don't know if maybe we can reach out to Coleman and Christensen and see if they can come up with a solution for fueling gas vessel. It's, you know, it's a pretty
Well, that's-
volatile situation.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, is it possible that we have a gas truck come down, just like we have a diesel truck come down there? We post it as a certain day that it's there. It doesn't have to be there every day, but if it's there on a Saturday, you know, every day, every Saturday in the summer, if someone like Coleman puts a fuel dock down there or a truck down there, would it be used?
The problem with gasoline is generally when gasoline is delivered, it's delivered in a big truck. Okay, it's not in a truck that's just driving up and down the highway, so, yeah, I think, they don't sell it, so they sell diesel to everybody. Heating fuel, trucks, trains, right? They're running around with a diesel truck to everybody. They're not running around with a little truck that size to everybody giving them gas, and that's the problem, it's costly. You know, and I think when you talk to them, they're gonna tell you that, it's not cost efficient for our company to do that. Now, maybe there's somebody that'll come along, and I see Tiffany's waiting to give me that answer.
I think I can answer a few of the questions. I do have a document actually prepared to go out to commissioners, which I probably didn't get out before this meeting, as we've been talking to Blaine staff up there, because my understanding, I'm not gonna get too far into fire code, is that gasoline is a class 1 substance, and it's got different rules than diesel as a class 2. And so that it's more of a fire hazard. So in the document that I have nearly prepared to go to you all, there are the options for how to fuel with gasoline in Blaine Harbor. We don't have a fuel dock, and you're all right about the cleanup and all of that process and where we have to go there. There are a couple options. You can carry gas cans down to your boat, go outside of the harbor and fuel your boats. But this is all for safety and fire requirements is the reason why we have the process and the rules and regulations that we have in place right now. But I will get that document out to you this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say is and I'm worried more about spillage and, you know, it's better when you've got a contained dock than people running down with gas cans. I've watched people
100%.
fill their boats with gas cans, and
Yeah.
I know what the environmental impact is of that.
Yeah.
So, on our list.
Yeah,
And
as
I'm
I
just trying
said,
to
it's,
figure out if we should have a presentation for a more formal conversation. I just want to make sure these folks in Blaine feel heard, and it's okay if our answer is no. I just want to, or not now, but I just want to make sure that they're getting that response from us.
I mean, anybody can come into and give us, they're online or come here and talk to us. I don't think we need to do a special agenda item for someone to speak to us.
No, but we're gonna have these presentations around, maybe it's just one list that we take up to Blaine when we do the next roundup. And Blaine, I'm looking at you, Brian, because you were there.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, once again, I'll reiterate, that anyone can come
Yeah.
to the meeting and speak about whatever they'd like to speak about.
Okay.
And just because, you know, there's this 3-minute thing doesn't mean you can't have more time to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you guys, but I don't know that we need to do a special agenda item for that only, unless we've got some kind of presentation to give.
I guess it's really, if staff feels like we have enough to deliver for what options are for a decision, you know. I'll defer to staff for that input.
I think we'd just be telling you what I just said, which is we don't know when we're going to do the cleanups, and you can't do a fuel dock till you do the cleanups.
So it goes into what I was talking about with Brian earlier, is that we have that vision for what's gonna happen there, and everybody knows what that vision is and how long it's gonna take and what the steps are along the way, and it fits into that schedule so that all of Blaine knows what the cleanup schedule is, what the people looking for gas up in Blaine know how that fits into the big picture. That's the kind of community input I would like to see, or dialogue I would like to see.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You know, I don't know, maybe we can find a corner specifically, care if you want to carry your gas down to your boat, it's all by itself, and you can put your gas in, and then, I mean, maybe there's a solution that we can come to, a float in a corner somewhere away from everything where, I'm not sure. It's the fire codes we speak to, so, you know, and like I said, it's not that we haven't been thinking about this, it's there, but it's just a matter of getting things cleaned up, and it's just, stuff moves slow,
Okay.
so.
All right. We'll keep looking at that one.
Put bookends on that. I don't think we need to have a meeting on the 18th, but I do think it needs to be part of an agenda where we describe the entire process of what's going on in Blaine at some point. but I wouldn't put on the agenda for the.
I would just say to the folks they may be watching, I don't know, nothing, it doesn't matter what we decide or could do, nothing's gonna happen until the cleanup's done, and that's 2 years out. So,
If
just
we get
so
funded.
you have some understanding where we're at with our time stuff.
Okay.
I just wanted to know where that drone footage came from that was up on the screen.
Well, Andrew, raise your hand, Andrew. That's him. He's our drone operator. He's going around doing a lot of different videos and photographs of the Port of Bellingham, and that's what you're seeing. You've seen a lot more of this on social media too. I think we really upped our social media presence.
I just want a link. Just send me.
Okay, I just had two more quick ones. I wanted to just recognize our team is hosting a delegation of green tech industry from Norway this Friday. So we're going to be providing a tour for a number of different Norwegian businesses who have collaboration and connection to the Pacific Northwest, and just trying to make sure they know about our region for economic development opportunities. So nice work for staff who's been bringing that, and look forward to some of that, hopefully some good fruition out of that conversation. And then last, I want to thank everybody who was involved in the Fire and Story a couple weekends ago. Really fantastic event. I thought it went really well. There was great turnout. They sold out for multiple days of the event. Just brought a whole bunch of people, and it continues to expand. And I would just really hope that we continue to sponsor the event. I think it's been really positive, and I think it's partially selfish. I don't want the city to get all the credit for our great event. And so I want to make sure that we continue our sponsorship so that we continue to feel that this is a port event that we participate in, and also are recognized for helping to put on. All right, that's it for me.
That's it for you? Okay. Once again, I'd just like to thank staff for all the volunteer efforts they put forward to make all the things that the port put on, or the staff put on for the people of Whatcom County and the people that came from out of Whatcom County through last year. It takes tremendous effort. You're giving up your own personal time to come and help. A lot of folks did, and it's very commendable. Thank you. I do have a question. We haven't heard much about it, the day sailboat thing. We had quite a discussion about that, and are we still ongoing with that, or what's happening with those guys?
I think Elliot can give you the best update there.
Hi, Elliot Smith from Real Estate. We are having several conversations with the day sailing group. They were formerly in an informal relationship at 2551 Rotor. That has now been cleared out in the back. And we're looking at several scenarios for that building. One of those scenarios, which you'll hear about in the near future, will be the possibility of, for another year or two, putting only day sailing boats with access behind that building, able to get to the lifts to be put in the water. We're also working on a second site, which would be a permanent site funded by that group and leased by the port, to keep them going into the water and drawing quite a few maritime sailing regattas in the summertime here, which bring huge numbers of visitors at a time when the fishing fleet is up north and out to sea. So we think there's a lot of benefit there. We need some consultation with the commissioners on how we put those two prongs of that plan in place. But we're quite close to proposing a few things for you as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm not really looking for a real specific, I want to make sure we just had some ongoing, stuff was still moving forward, and we had some ideas. Thank you, Elliot.
Before you go, can you tell me what's going on with the ferry?
I cannot.
Or should we?
This is
Hi,
the one.
Tiff, how are you?
This is the one we wanted to end with, huh? I don't actually have an update on the ferry. It's still there. Yeah. Still working with the owner to determine his next steps. Still working on what it looks like when that is removed and when the cleanup begins happening, and doing our best to come to a solution that allows him to find another place or something else to do with the ferry.
Did see that someone just paid $100,000 for a similar ferry in Everett, and they're going to turn it into offices. So we'll see how that project goes.
As long as they don't bring it here.
I think this one is the Port of Everett's problem, so we'll hand that one to Lisa.
We'll keep the commission updated as more information comes in on that.
We gave him a deadline. That passed.
Yes.
So much for deadlines.
Next question.
He does have a current birth app, but it's past January, the end of January.
So, when the gentleman that owned the ferry was here, felt like he was mistreated. And I'd just like to speak to that. I apologize if that's what you came away with from here, but we did sincerely listen to you, and we talked about it amongst ourselves. Well, not amongst ourselves, but we spoke with staff, and we all did. So if you felt like you were beat up, so to speak, I apologize for that. That wasn't our intent, and that's not what we felt. But if you felt that way, we're sorry. I think that's all I have. Oh, I do have a question. Do we have a suggestion box here in this environment?
That's a good suggestion.
Well, it used to be a day when somebody could drop by, drop a piece of paper in it, had an idea on it or a suggestion to maybe make things go better or do something like that. And it seems like we don't do that anymore. Everybody does it online. Well, then everybody knows where it came from. The whole idea of a suggestion box was anonymous. And I think if we could, I'd like to try something like that. That way if somebody sees something or has an idea and, really don't want to bring it forward, it might be a good idea and it might help somebody out. It might help us all out. I think that I'd like to see us go back to a suggestion box. Are you guys acceptable with that? And you get to read them and open them.
I don't have a dog in that hunt. So my email is kenb@portofbellingham to get a hold of me.
I get lots of suggestions by email.
Yeah, but then you know where they came from.
Yeah, I guess.
A lot of times people are timid and don't want to say things. I mean, and they might have a good idea. So,
Go for it.
see that.
See if we get anybody.
All righty. Anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Probably getting.
I suggest we end the meeting.
One more call for public comment if somebody'd like to say something, online or in person. Going once, going twice, we're adjourned.